Welcome to another Bart and Paul show. And this week we are going to talk about the Princess of Discs. Yay! For the last couple of videos, we've been doing the full card, the first card, and then we did the universe card, the last card. So we could have done the ones in the middle, but we thought, no, we'll do the last, technically the last card of the 78 cards, which is the Princess of Discs, or the Princess or Page of Pentacles, if you come from other traditions and things like this. So this, we know, with this idea, whether the full, the last is in the first, so the universe is in the full card is in the universe. The Princess of Discs, but it doesn't really have, there isn't a court card that comes before. So if we were going to do this, we'd say, well, the Knight of Wands, Fire of Fire, that would be the one, wouldn't it? Yeah, but it doesn't work like that with the court cards. It's a strange kind of system. So technically, the princesses are out of the system because we have the Knight, the Queen, and the Prince. Those are the three, and then the fourth position, the Earth position, is the princess, and she comes from somewhere else. And in the Rider-Waite tradition and other traditions, the princesses are known as pages, and they represent news, which is something. News is something that comes from out from somewhere into your place. What do you think, Bart? Before we get into it.
Oh, well, I'm afraid I'm going to be running ahead here. So I think it's. I'm thinking about the position of the Princess of Discs on the Tree of Life. Because you just said the princess is something external, it's something new, something that's been added.
Yes.
So I just thought about reading that Malkuth is actually no part of the Tree of Life, is actually an extension dangling on it, like something that's not really a part of it, something from the outside.
In the universe card, it was described as pendant to the Tree of Life, wasn't it, by Crowley? Let's see. So it looks like it's part of the system, but it isn't. But it's also not part of the system when because in an ordinary card deck, you don't have pages. You just have the kings, the queens, and the print and the whatever they are, knaves. Yes, it's a long time since I played cards. So yes, it's all the princesses are out of the system, and because they're at the bottom, they come right up at the top. So if we talk about Malkuth, we're actually talking about Keter. And when we talked about the full card, it was actually out of the system, beyond the supernal triangle, above Keter. And so consequently, when we talked about the universe card, that was also out of the system as well, because Malkuth is in Keter. So the princesses are also out of the system, and as Crowley describes them, the princesses are the thrones of spirit, aren't they? The aces. And the aces, of course, relate to Keter, and throne is a Bina thing. So this is when the princesses become the queen; they're the throne of Bina. Complicated.
No, it's not. Just look at the card.
Yes, well, we will do that.
We will do. I will wait.
But we're going to do a line by line thing like we did before, and see what comes out. So Aleister Crowley first of all says something we already kind of know. Simple. Prince of Discs, the last of the court cards, represents the earthy part of Earth. Okay. So the earthy part of Earth is the most solid, the most dense. So it's going to become something else. And Crowley talks about this, plutonium and uranium and all these heavy elements that actually give off particles. They transform themselves. There's an alchemical process going on. And we see this in the next sentence, basically. And he says, she is consequently on the brink of transfiguration. She is strong and beautiful, with an expression of intense brooding, as if about to become aware of secret wonder. So, transfiguration, she hasn't quite transfigured, but she's about to, turning into something else. She is strong and beautiful. Intense brooding, that's a Saturnian kind of thing, isn't it? Saturnine thing, would you think, Bart?
I think it's all hints to one big important fact about the card.
Go on.
Brooding. She's pregnant.
Yes.
And this is the whole big deal about this card. The Princess of Discs is pregnant and is about to give birth.
You can actually see a slight bump on her belly, can't you?
Yes, yes. Once you know it, it's quite obvious even.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Who's the father?
The prince, I suppose, eh?
Well, if you go back to the verse about the fall, about the king's daughter who's waiting thee. So thee would be the reader. So the reader is the father. Gets a bit complicated because there's an assumption here that the reader is male. And it gets a little bit complicated. Okay. So.
Now, in another way, if you read, for example, the book, which is the fairy tale he wrote there, The Wake World.
Yes.
There, the reader is the princess.
Lola.
Yes.
Not Layla, Lola.
Lola. Eh?
It could be Layla.
Maybe I think he was inspired by the Song of the Kings.
Right. Right.
And that was a transvestite. And the plot thickens.
Right. Okay. So now she is with child. Then he switches back to makes a change actually, because usually we prattle on for ages before we actually get to any description. And this time round, she starts off pretty quickly. So he says, her crest is the head of the ram, and her scepter descends into the earth. The head of the ram, Aries, which probably relates to the fire of the Knight of Wands in that case, then, even though fire is Aries, but in terms of the counter-changing the elements, it comes into something different, which I can never quite get my head around, to be honest with you. Her scepter descends into the earth. Well, scepter is a wand, another fiery sort of thing, descending into the earth. So she is earth of earth, and it's descending into the earth, which is a little bit excessive, isn't it? But then he says, there its head becomes a diamond, the precious stone of Keter, thus symbolizing the birth of the highest and purest light in the deepest and darkest of the elements. See, we've been running ahead, haven't we, in our discussions here? So now that this birth is Keter, the purest light, the diamond is the stone of Keter as well, the hardest stone and the brightest kind of stone as well. If you see, it's a precious stone. Yes, Bob.
Just earlier, I saw on a website, apparently the stone has the shape of carbon.
The stone has the shape of carbon.
Carbon, you know.
Oh, it's like a hexagram, isn't it?
Yes, like the building stone of the universe.
Yes, yes. And of course, the stone is now a chemical symbol of the transformation into the self as well. If you know your alchemy and all these sort of things, the stone of the wise, things like that.
And it is beautifully done. I mean,
yes.
Now, if you understand what she means, what it means, so here we do see Keter is in Malkuth.
Yes.
It shows
quite literally.
Yeah.
And
here, what was it when he says she is consequently on the brink of transfiguration, strong and beautiful, become aware of a secret wonder. All this as well. I find this, it's mysterious when you're not aware she's pregnant, but once you know she's pregnant, it's just a description.
Yes, yes, yes. She stands within a grove of sacred trees before an altar, suggesting a wheat sheaf, for she is a priestess of Demeter. So sacred trees is kind of the natural place of meeting, holy places, wasn't it, in the past? And Demeter is a goddess.
Paul, I'm sorry,
Yes.
I will go back a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, go.
When you just said, so her crest is the head of her arm, I thought that's because it's a reference to Aries, and because
Yes.
Aries is spring, is the start of spring,
Yes.
and so it means fertility.
Yes. It's also the ram is Aries as well, March the 21st to
Yeah, Ram,
April
Aries.
21st, around then. So, I mean, we said at the start, it's pretty clear. The Princess of Discs is the last card. But the first card, it does kind of come out as Fire, so which is the Knight of Wands. But it's easier to go from the end rather than from the beginning, because the Knight of Wands doesn't have these things in it, to be honest with you.
And I find the Princess of Discs is a lot sexier.
Well, yes, you're a bloke,
Well, she's preggy.
Yes.
Well, she's still sexy.
Right. So then, if you didn't catch the meaning of the second sentence, or the first sentence, he says, she bears within her body the secret of the future. So technically, when you get a repetition like this, he's coming at things from a different angle. Secret we both had before. The first time it was a wonder, which now becomes a future. It's the same thing, but it's different.
Yes.
When in all of these texts, when you see the same kind of thing crop up again, something's going on, basically. Her sublimity is further emphasized by the disc which she bears. For in the center thereof is the Chinese ideogram denoting this twin spiral force of creation in perfect equilibrium. From this is born the rose of Isis, the great fertile mother.
So that's when he speaks of, what is it? In the center thereof is the Chinese ideogram denoting the twin spiral force of creation in perfect equilibrium. That's the yin-yang sign in the middle.
Which is the two of discs, and it's also a more perfect form of the snake in its spiral form on the universe card. So the two of discs change. So the snake is there. It's not mentioned here, but it's basically it would be as well.
And
we kind of get into Adam and Eve territory here, don't we, with snakes and all the rest of it. So we alluded to earlier this thing of Isis and from the daughter becoming the mother from Bina, because the throne of the spirit. And here we have that because Isis is the mother, the great fertile mother as well. So the mother represents Bina in all of this too.
Well, it is actually, this is where the princess becomes the queen.
Yes, yes. Fertile mother would also be the princess, the queen of discs as well, wouldn't it, too? Because the queen of discs has fertile earth.
Yes, yes, and the card as well.
Yes. There's a lot going on. So now we go on to the character.
The same element, eh?
Sorry? Yes, it is. Yes, the queen of earth. Water, the queen of discs is the watery part of earth, fertile. And the mother, the queen of discs would be the mother, and it's fertile. So it's back to that as well. The rose of Isis, you can talk about that. The rose is Tiphereth, basically, as well. That's where the rose appears normally, isn't it? Sorry?
We've been talking a lot about the rose in our thing about the rose cross, our videos about the rose cross.
Yes. All of these things.
But it is, the feminine, eh?
Yes. So now we kind of come on to the characteristics, which is kind of, the characteristics of tarot cards, so the court cards in particular, are always a bit of
I found this confusing, Paul.
I was going to say, yes. I was finding a nice way of saying it. It's confusing.
Yeah, the characteristics of an individual signified by this card, but she has no astrological attribution. Does that mean everyone from Africa and Europe?
No, it just means she has no astrological attribution.
No, but if when he says the characteristics of an individual signified by this card, now her main attribution that I'm aware of is of the hemisphere, the part with Europe and Africa.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. You're talking about something. I think it's more the aces, actually.
Yes, but the princesses have the same, suppose.
Yeah, but the aces are the Kesef aspects of it too. So it's. I don't think he's not doing a particular thing there. Okay, on that one. So you've kind of read that sentence, but I'll do it again. The characteristics of an individual signified by this card are too various to enumerate. One must summarize by saying that she is womanhood in its ultimate projection. I don't think we're qualified to discuss that last bit, are we?
I have a woman sitting downstairs. If you want, I can call her and we can ask her.
Womanhood in its ultimate projection. Was that Wonder Woman?
Oh, she wouldn't be happy if she knew I was showing this. This is womanhood in her ultimate projection.
Right, okay. Pregnant.
And
so there's a third reference.
Shines then. They say, Alia, it is women shine when they're pregnant. Some women really do look radiant.
Like they glow, they do, yes. But we also, princesses are young women as well, usually, aren't they? So, in the Rider-Waite decks, they come out as children. Two or three princesses together represent children very often, too. So, she contains all the characteristics of woman, and it would depend entirely upon the influences to which she is subjected, whether one or another becomes manifest. So it's whatever's going on around her with the other cards are going to define what kind of woman she is.
I doubt he meant it this way, but if you read this from a pregnant woman perspective, then I could say I understand what he means, because when they're pregnant, their hormones are playing up. So it storms inside them, and you never know what mood they're going to be in.
Yeah, but we have to be careful here, because he's talking about the character, and we're not going to make some kind of leap to say that a woman represented by the Prince of Dis is a pregnant woman, because that would be ludicrous, wouldn't it?
Yes and no, why not?
Well, no, because you have the Empress for that, don't you? She represents fertility and all those things. So, because he's saying, you've got to be careful, because he's saying those things. You can't suddenly decide that because a woman says her card is a Princess of Discs, is that she's pregnant. You can't make that assumption, can you?
No, but you keep it open as an option.
Well, yeah, maybe. But, I mean... So then he says, but in every case, her attributes will be pure in themselves and not necessarily connected with any other attributes, which in the normal way one regards as symbolic. So she might be what we think she is, and she might not.
Well, I would also heard things.
From the point of view of what you just said, there's Crowley warning you to sort of read too much into what is said about her.
No, her attributes will be pure in themselves and not necessarily connected. I would understand that as a person. Yeah. Well, yeah, you have people who are easily influenced in this and that as a person who knows their true will. Yes. I think this is a hint to the accomplishment of the great work, maybe.
Well, we'll come to that. It is rather like a lottery wheel from which the extraction of any number does not predict or influence the result of any subsequent operation, despite what a lot of people think. There's no memory on that one. So the lottery wheel is a connection to fortune card, because the fortune card doesn't just mean good luck, it just means change of fortune. Particularly in the Middle Ages. I mean, 1 minute you could be the lord of the manor, and the next minute destitute. You know, life really flips very fast, particularly in those days.
1 minute you're on a throne, next you're on a stake.
Yep. Yep. Be warned.
Yes. I mean, a stake with A-K-E, not E-A-K.
The fruit of the philosophy of Thelema is enjoyed, rare, ripe, nourishing, and vitalizing at its highest and fullest in this meditation. For to the adept, every turn of the wheel is equally probable and equally a prize, for every event is a play of Newit. Well, that's kind of chance, isn't it? You know, I mean, the thelema is do what they will, but I mean, the outcome isn't necessarily going to be predetermined. It's not going to be, you can't just assume that the outcome, because you willed it, is going to be what you willed it to be.
But normally, depends what you understand by the great work. But if you do the work, if the inner work you've been doing, then it shouldn't affect you. You should maintain your middle pillar.
Yeah, but we haven't discussed the great work yet, Bart.
He's already discussing it here now. This is all about the great work.
Yes, but let's kind of go with what's there at the moment.
Okay, it's not me, it's Crowley.
Yeah, well, we're going with what he's written so far.
He starts about the philosophy of Thelema. Here, this meditation. What's the word meditation doing in this meditation? I mean,
well, the meditation is him writing, discussing the Princess of Discs.
No, I'm going to be running ahead again. Meditation is another meaning of the King hexagram.
Yeah?
Mountain.
Yes. Well, okay, yes, okay. Well, the next part is the I Ching. The earthy part of Earth, which is number 52, can. K-A-N, not C-A-N. So in the I Ching, the earthy part of Earth is represented by the 52nd hexagram can. The meaning is a mountain. Of how sublime a significance is this Chinese doctrine of balance, and how closely congruous with that of the Holy Kabbalah. Well, yes.
The second meaning of this trigram means meditation. Be still and unmovable like a mountain.
Yes. So let's go on to the next bit. I'm not quite sure how he relates that with the Holy Kabbalah. But then he says, the mountain is the most sacred of all terrestrial symbols, stark, rugged, and immovable in its aspiration to the highest, thrust up as it is by the Titan energy of hidden fire. So, you know, hidden fire, it could be a dormant volcano, couldn't it, as well, in all of this? But we are talking about Earth of Earth.
All the mountains and the mountain ranges are made by what is it? The tectonic plates
pushing up.
Yes, so it is all made by the fire in the core of the Earth.
Yes, yes. But he says hidden fire. So hidden fire can also have another meaning as well, can't it, in all of this?
Yeah,
so now he goes on to the next line is, it is no less an hieroglyph of the inmost Godhead than the phallus itself, even as Capricornus, the sign of the new year, is exalted in the zodiac. Its deity autochthonous, no less than the most holy ancient one himself. The most holy ancient one is a title of Keta Hua, basically, as far as I can remember. I wish I'd actually read this before we did the video properly. We'll have to put a thing underneath that says what autochthonous means. because we're not quite sure. But you've got a Capricorn in there. It's interesting. The hidden fire is, hidden fire of Earth would be Capricorn, fire of Earth.
Autochthone in Flemish means of the region.
Of the region.
Not a foreigner.
Okay, so it's native.
Yeah, native.
Well, so he's suddenly gone from this pregnant woman, we don't know how she got pregnant, because we don't know who the father is, to suddenly talking about Capricorn and Pan and all the rest of it, which will go with all of that as well, you see.
Well, we're talking about...
So he's probably saying God made her pregnant by the sound of it.
That's what... Never mind. I'll keep my thoughts to myself. Well, I'm thinking about phallus Capricorn, and next thing you see this crest on her head. I was thinking that explains it.
Oh, okay. Right. So isn't it interesting how he's balancing this feminine energy with this masculine kind of thing that's going on here as well? So
it is. It totally is. It is a heavy sentence, this.
It is, isn't it?
When you first read it,
it almost doesn't fit in. I mean, because the I Ching, it doesn't quite have what that paragraph says. You see, so we've kind of moved the subject on. So let's see how he deals with this kind of contradictory kind of thing that's going on here, which you've already said at the start. There's a lot of contradictions within the Princess of Discs to start with. He says, it is essential for the student to trace this doctrine for himself in every symbol. Air, the elastic and inflexible and flexible, yet all-pervading and the element of combustion. Water, fluid yet incompressible, the most neutral and composed of all components of living matter, yet destructive even of the hardest rocks by physical assault, and irresistible in its burning power of solution, which is now a chemical thing. And fire, so kin to spirit that is not a substance at all, but a phenomenon, yet so integral to matter that it is the very heart and essence of all things soever. I guess he's saying, well, yes, it is the earth of earth, but we have to include all of the elements in the whole kind of process as well, which kind of brings out a balance thing that's going on.
Well, but when was it? How long ago has it been that we were saying that earth is actually a mixture of the other three elements?
Yes. Earth technically doesn't exist. So then he goes, so we've got a kind of bit of a journey there to Pan, Capricorn, and the devil, really, and the most holy ancient one, which is a title of Keter. Then he comes back to the characteristics for the I Ching again. The characteristic of Can in the I Ching is rest, which is pretty much not what he described in the last two paragraphs. Each line of the comment describes repose in the parts of the body in turn and their effects: the toes, the calves, the loins, the spine, and the jaws. This chapter is a close parallel in this respect, line by line, with the 31st, Hessian, which begins the second section of the I Ching. So this would be, the interesting thing is that in the last few years of his life, Crowley was actually writing his own version of the I Ching, based upon the James Legge version, which you can find online in various places and things, with his description of these 64 hexagrams and how they work.
Which Crowley really despised. He hated it for some reasons, yeah.
But in those days, there weren't many translations, so you kind of went with what you want. And
well, Crowley wouldn't have been Crowley if he just says, I can do this better myself.
Well, absolutely.
You have to respect the man for that, though.
Absolutely.
There was no task he wouldn't do it.
Exactly. So now we veer off in another direction. The Rosicrucian doctrine of Tetragrammaton could hardly be more adequately stated. To every ear that is to heavenly harmony attuned. It's probably talking about the formula of the Tetragrammaton here. but he is kind of doing things in a way that's yes. What do you think, Bart?
Want me to read it?
No, what do you think?
About what? About this?
The Rosicrucian doctrine of Tetragrammaton. I sort of spaced out there.
Yeah, isn't he saying that about the poem that follows?
It's saying about the fours, yes. The four elements and all of these things, Yod He Vav He.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we get on to a direct quotation. Okay. And this quotation is actually a paraphrase of Psalm 19, verses 1 to 6. Okay.
Is that a Psalm 19?
Yes.
I've been wondering where that came from.
Yes, yes. He says, there's not a planet in the firmament, but in his motion like an angel sings, still choiring to the young-eyed cherubim. But while this muddy vesture of decay doth wrap us round, our nature cannot hear it. Yes.
That was a long silence, Paul. Were you contemplating what you just read?
Yes. Probably we need to sort of work on that one in the original Hebrew to sort of tease out a bit more what that's about. But anyway, that's a quote from the Psalms. And then, as Bart's been alluding to, we're talking about the great work here. So, I mean, the vesture of decay doth wrap us around, our nature cannot hear it. It's, yeah. We'll have to think about that one.
Well, whatever they're on about, there's not a planet in the firmament, but in his motion like an angel sings. I don't understand this sentence. An angel sings, still choiring. What's choiring?
Yeah, I'm not sure myself. So
Still choiring to the young-eyed cherubim. So because it makes us believe that while we're in this muddy vesture of decay, we cannot hear this. This is the
so the siren call of the angel we're not hearing because we're wrapped up in our own bodily needs and decays and things like that. Which is interesting in the context of the final paragraph. Okay.
I find it funny that here he actually stops with the description of the card.
Yes.
In a way.
He takes it to the back to the highest level again, because the highest beginning is in the end. He says, let every student of this essay and of this book of Tahuti, this living book that guides man through all time and leads him to eternity at every page, hold fast this simplest, most far-reaching doctrine in his heart and mind, inflaming the inmost of his being. That's a call to action if you've ever heard one. This book of Tahuti, which is the book of Thoth,
yes,
living book. So living books is the spirit of Tahuti, which we could see as Iwas, is one of the ways we can sort of see that. Or Hua or Heru.
Yeah.
Through all time, time is a temporal thing, leads to eternity, and time and eternity are the two aspects of the progress of change.
Saturn,
I guess. Oh, it's a comma. We haven't finished the sentence. Blimey, I thought I had. Okay, that he also, having explored each recess of the universe, which can be the universe card, and just everywhere else anyway, may therein find the light of truth. So come to the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel and accomplish the great work, attain the Summum Bonum, true wisdom and perfect happiness.
Hallelujah.
We're finished. Our work is done.
Oh, yeah, Paul, we've done that fast, eh?
Well,
We've had days where
that's the
we
thing
did
with a lot
nearly
of the
4
court cards.
sentences.
There's not as much meat on the bone as you find in some of the other cards.
But it is a heavy card, but I find it's the final card, eh? I mean, it's the end.
You know, I mean, the pregnancy and who is the father? We don't really know. Who is the person? You know, it's a still small voice, isn't it? I guess that's coming through all of
Normally, who
this
is
as
the
well
father?
from the Most High, on
The
high.
Prince Tiferet is the father, eh?
Hmm?
You would think the Prince Tiferet is the father.
It's never made clear, is it?
And he's become Shokman now that he's king. Eh? And she's Bina, you know.
Yes. So this is a there's clearly more things going on with this card, isn't there? Than, you know, we sort of tried to. Hopefully, we brought out and hinted at that fact. It's not a simple one to understand and comprehend.
Yeah, it also, I didn't mention that, but sorry.
Yes.
The cat has this.
And what does Lon say? He has it on the cover,
no,
doesn't he?
It's not so much what he says, it's the picture that I wanted to show.
Yes.
This reminds me of the shell of a turtle. And what culture was it again? That the shell of a turtle, the Mayans believed the shell of a turtle to be a calendar.
I don't think it's that. I mean, it's not such a big thing in those days. We, you know, they didn't have the Mayan prophecies in Crowley's day. But the thing about the tortoise is that it is.
No, it's not prophecies. If you count, it has 36 dots, 36 things on the outside, which are the decans, and then 12, I think. And if you look on the pattern of a tortoise's back, it's like a calendar.
Yeah, okay.
I think this
is not. It's not a tortoise, right? But
well, no, but it is peculiar though. If you see the shield,
well, it's not. It's not a tortoise. You're seeing things that don't exist. It's the wreath of Demeter. It's a sheaf of coin of Demeter with the yin yang symbol at its center. So this is the counter change of the elements, the 4 elements
Demeter,
that's going on there in
Orpheus,
balance. And we also talked about the universe card with the 4 elements spinning around as well, didn't we? Yes. See. So there's a direct connection, and the 2 of discs comes into all of this as well. Probably it's the snake.
Yeah.
You know, which isn't mentioned in this one, but it crops up in the universe card. It's probably to do with all of this, and that brings in the death card and other things as well. Yes. So there she is. Is she the holy guardian angel? Is she the spirit that is whispering and giving guidance?
Is she the reader?
There's a lot of things there, aren't there? That's what makes this whole thing fascinating, isn't it? There isn't a resolution, even though you have that last 2 very long sentences, where he's basically equating the book of Thoth with the holy guardian angel and the great work as well.
It is a special. It is one of the parts in the book where he most directly addresses the reader, I find.
Yes. And it's an exhortation to realize your true self. From the last card of the deck, which is the Earth of Earth, which is the lowest part, which means it connects to the highest part. See, the thing is, however low you go, you're never disconnected from the highest.
You know who the reader is?
No.
The child that's about to be born.
And there's this alchemical thing, isn't it? That the greatest value is to be for the alchemist was to be found in dirt. I'm paraphrasing there.
Mm.
So it's in the lowest part is the highest. It's always thing. And you come on to the devil and God as well. You know, they're aspects of the same thing, because one's high and one's very low, and they're both
was it one of my favorite lines? The climax of the descent of matter is the signal for integration, or something like that.
Yes, we can have that as well. So this is how to receive the inspiration, I guess. Something to think about. Next week we'll do something different. Maybe the Five of Wands.
The Five of Wands.
Yes, not an obvious choice, but you'll see why. I think we're done. Any comments and questions down below? Join our Thoth Tarot group
Yours
and
is
the
changed,
Book of
eh?
Thoth Tarot group.
No, your name is changed.
Book
You
of
no
Thoth
longer the
Tarot.
book.
Book of Thoth Tarot, yes.
Yes, the Book of Thoth Tarot.
Yes.
Or Thoth Tarot or
Book of Thoth Tarot.
Bart's Thoth Tarot Corner.
Yeah, Bart's Thoth Tarot Corner as well. Hughes-Barlow.com. If you want a reading, get in contact with me. And if you want to
Go
buy a
Brighton
book,
Beach.
I've got a book. I've got 2 books. There we go. So Beyond the Celtic Cross. So signed copies are available from me. So get in contact, and hopefully we'll see you on the groups and
Underneath the Christmas tree.
underneath the Christmas tree.